Welcome back to the news at 10. I'm going to toss it over now to Maokwe Ogun Yusuf in Abuja.
Hello, Amarachi. It's good to see you, and we welcome our viewers to our Abuja studios. The House of Representatives has suggested the use of federal government colleges whose students are at home as isolation centers for those suspected to have the coronavirus. The motion was raised as a matter of urgent public importance by the Speaker, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, who also wants the country to be prepared for the long-term effects of the virus. In Kano State, a mild drama played out today after a plane landed with a passenger reportedly vomiting. But suspicions of a case of COVID-19 turned out to be a hoax, as health officials ruled it out and confirmed that the passenger has a flight phobia, as it was his first time of flying. Officials of the NCDC thereafter took precautionary measures by spraying passengers with disinfectants and also the entire plane. They equally took down all the details of the passengers in case of any issue that might arise afterwards. Kano is still free from COVID-19. And in the northeast of the country, Governor Umaru Fintiri has constituted a 10-man containment committee that will coordinate the overall medical and social response of the COVID-19 pandemic in Adamawa State. Governor Fintiri also banned all conventions, congresses, seminars and workshops that will warrant a gathering of more than 50 people at a time. And that's all from our studios in Abuja. It's back to you now, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Maokwe. And here in Lagos, the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, has listed steps that must be taken by the federal government to cushion the effect of COVID-19 on the nation's economy. Some of the measures, according to the governor, are economic diversification, reducing over-reliance on oil receipts, and an aggressive tax collection system. Mr. Emefiele, who was speaking after the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee in Abuja, explains that the measures will assist in reducing the impact of a likely economic recession. We'll be joined now on the news at 10 by the CEO of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, who has been closely monitoring the economic impacts of what's going on. And you do have a quote. You say MPC thinks twice. That's about the CBN, maintain status quo. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think what the MPC did was to accept the limitations of monetary policy. What you have is a multi-dimensional problem called COVID-19 or what have you. And the way you evaluate policies is that there are 3 A's. The question is 1, is it auspicious? 2, is it adequate? And 3, is it appropriate? So we need to go back to understand that before now, that is, Nigeria grew at 2.55% in Q4. But if you look at if you decompose the growth, you'll find that most of the growth was propelled by oil. And now that left us fragile. Now, what has happened is that the monetary policy authorities have accepted that it is part of a combined, that is a comprehensive solution using fiscal and monetary tools. In the first place, we had a multi-dimensional problem. In 1, the healthcare problem. 2, the trade and investment flows from Southeast Asia and China. Our biggest trading partners are China and India. 3 is the effect of the plunge in oil prices from $63 all the way to $25. And then finally, the fiscal imbalances that this throws up. So what you have is a fragile economy, inflation increasing, and growth negative. Having said that, what have the fiscal authorities done? They've done 4 major things. 1, supplementary budget based on $30 a barrel. Give back to Nigerians 20 naira per litre. That the total, the aggregate 20 naira per litre on 60 million litres gives us about almost $1.2 billion. In addition to that, that was the petrol rebate. We also have 3.5 trillion naira of lending and intervention by the central bank and 2.35 trillion of credit growth. But if you take all of this together, then the impact is not enough to solve this problem, because this problem is a problem that is, basically multidimensional, but also it's happening at a time when all other countries are having the same thing. It is very unlikely and very unusual in the world for you to have supply shocks and demand shocks at the same time. But this time we have it. Supply shock because China is the largest exporter in the world, and demand shock because you've closed down all the shops and airports and everything at the same time. Now, has this happened before? If you look at the slide, next slide, you'll find that Nigeria in 2008 was a large size economy. It had plenty of buffers. The reserves were $52 billion. The external debt was only $3 billion. The excess crude account had $15 billion. And the balance of trade was $43 billion. So to a large extent, on the left angle there, you find Nigeria was a size 22. So it was able to withstand shocks. In 2016, Nigeria had become a mid-size, had become a size 12, and was able to withstand those shocks without total damage. Today, Nigeria is a size 8. Its ability to withstand those shocks is very limited. Therefore, all hands have to be on deck. Now, this virus has 3 dimensions. 1, it's mild. 2, moderate. And 3, severe. Our call is that this is going to be a mild attack, which means that you will have about 2,000 infections, some casualties, and that probability is there. If it goes to moderate, then you will have 50,000 infections. If it goes to severe, then you're talking about 500,000 infections.
Okay.
Now, let me go and deal with how it will impact the individual.
Because all of these measures that the CBN has announced to the common man on the streets, he needs to understand how it affects the price of gari and rice.
Right. So we looked at, in all, we looked at 7 items. 4 of them increased. In the last week, because of the panic buying and people thinking that the markets are going to close, tomatoes went up by 50% from 6,000 to 9,000. Rice stayed flat at 27,500. Pepper went up by 25% from 8,000 to 10,000. Indomie stayed flat at 2,000. But gari went up by 3% from 8,900 to 9,200. But because the market's about to close, and even though we say food is exempted from it, we expect to see more panic buying. The average inventory the Nigerian stores carry usually at about 90 days. Because of panic buying, people have bought and stockpiled. And therefore, that inventory level has dropped to about 30 days. Further panic buying, you begin to see shortages. The airports are closed. The roads, the borders are closed. So you're going to see more of that. Now, what does this mean in the final analysis? Because we assume a mild to moderate scenario, what you're going to see is that by April, airports will be reopened, factories will be reopened, schools will be reopened. I mean, that's at the end of April to June.
Yeah.
Borders will be reopened and local markets will be opened. Growth will be flat to negative. Inflation will be up before falling, and unemployment will rise. But in the road to recovery will be short but rough. The truth is that we are going to avoid what we call a hard landing, but there's a lot of work to be done. So
a lot of patience on the part of Nigerians.
Patience, and basically the leadership team have to be given a chance to do what they have to do, and they have to establish some credibility with the followership.
Mr. Bismarck Rewadi, pleasure having you here on the News at 10.
Thank you very much for having me.
More business news coming up with Teniola Shobowale.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Amarachi. Welcome to Business News. Economic experts have hailed the Central Bank of Nigeria's move to retain the monetary policy rate at 13.5%, saying that it is a price the country has to pay for the long structural defects of the economy. According to the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf, more attention should be paid to other key monetary policies in order not to see further decline in the nation's macroeconomic macroeconomic conditions. Similarly, Managing Partner, Commercial Partners Asset Management, Steve Osho, maintains that Nigeria is at a peculiar situation due to the economic impact of the COVID-19 outbreak. Well, the Nigerian equities market ended Tuesday's session up 0.19% after the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank unanimously retained key rates. Here's Layo Adegoke with the figures of today's trading.
Thanks a lot for joining us for the stock market report. The Nigerian stock market closed Tuesday's session on a positive note, just as the Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee unanimously decided to hold key rates unchanged to observe the impact of steps already taken under a massive intervention plan to save the economy from COVID-19 pressures. The all-share index was up 0.19% to 21,741.16 with a market cap of 11.32 trillion naira. Today's positive close was driven by moderate gains recorded by the consumer goods, banking and industrial goods sector. The total volume of trades, however, declined to 330.10 million units, valued at 3.56 billion naira and exchanged hands in over 4,500 deals. On the activity chart, GT Bank, Zenith Bank and Axis were the major contributors. Nigerian Police Microfinance Bank led Tuesday's top gainers with 9.5%, while Caverton was the day's top decliner with 10%. And that's the stock market reports. I'm Layo Adegoke.
Thanks, Lyle. Meanwhile, stocks rebounded aggressively from a 3-year low on Tuesday as investors hoped U.S. lawmakers were close to an agreement on a stimulus bill to rescue the economy from the damage caused by the coronavirus. Let's take a look at some of today's numbers. And that's Business News Tonight. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Daniela. And still ahead on the news at 10, the International Olympic Committee bows to pressure, announces postponement of the Tokyo 2020